Hey guys, it's John. In this video, I want to run through 6 different strategies that you could implement to your coaching business to attract at least 6 inquiries every single month. I've worked with over 500 fitness coaches now, and the vast majority struggle with this problem. They don't know what to do to attract leads to them. They don't want to spend their life hunting people down in DMs and pushing their service. They want to know what to talk about or what to post, or how are they going to get people coming to them. So at the end of this video, you're going to know, well, you're going to know 6 different ways you can change your content, how you communicate, the topics you want to talk about, and change the positioning so you get people coming to you. You can get people hitting up your inquiry form or messaging you directly. And everything you're about to learn here, these are these 6 elements I've learned working hands-on with one of my clients, Luke. And they helped him go from not only 1,200 followers to 50,000 followers, he went from 1,000 a month to 10K a month within 9 weeks. So this is all from first-hand experience, and it all comes down to the fact of understanding the psychology of who you help, which is absolutely key. So let's get straight into it. The first thing is making a switch from talking about what you think they need into what they want. Give them what they want and what they need. What they need is typically the thing that you're trying to bridge. You're trying to give them solutions. You're trying to give out value. You're trying to give out, hell, a lot of coaches are trying to give out tips, which are pointless. You need to understand very clearly what is the person fixating upon, but also what problem do they care about. It's actually worth thinking about deeply. Because if you're talking about topics that no one cares about or they're not going to pay for, you're wasting your time. Where is the pain in your market? What do people generally want to fix, and what are they thinking about actively? You have to be aware of this, and you have to center your content disproportionately around those problems, but those painful problems, because no one's going to pay to fix something that they're not invested in. And a lot of coaches don't spend the time to ask their clients to order this and really dig into the details of what is in the headspace of the people they help, or what are people focusing on, because that's what's going to draw attention. If you're talking about the topics that people are literally thinking over and over and over and they want to fix, or you're at least talking about some of the areas which we're going to get onto here, which draws attention to those problems, that's really important to attract attention and get people coming to you in the first place. And when you agitate these problems repeatedly, that creates pain of comparison. That creates more willingness to do something about it, which again moves people up this pyramid, which we'll move on to very shortly. But the most impactful thing is, are you talking about things that people care about? Does a lot of heavy lifting for you, because if you are and you're doing it too, if your skill's not great, but you're talking about things people want to know, you're going to succeed. With Luke's example, this was it. 3 years, posted inconsistently with content, was really hesitant, didn't know what to talk about, covered loads of different things. And then we did one batch recording session around a very, very precise set of problems that his market was starving for, really, really interested in. Boom, ignited his following. And to be honest, the volume of exposure he got from that was everything. Views aren't everything, but he got a lot of inquiries because the content he was producing, and he did get exposure, and not virality, but the content that when it did pop, it was around the topics and it attracted the people with the problems that his service is designed to solve. Really, really important. So if you get that right, you're onto a winner. Conversely, if you're amazing and you're really highly skilled and your editing's on point, but you're still talking about topics no one cares about, you're not going to get out the gate. So we need to focus on that first. Second thing, you have to be aware that only a small percentage of the market are ready to buy. Every single one of your competitors will be obsessing about the top 3%. Only 3% of the market at any one point in time are in a position to buy or wants to buy. They are most aware. And to break this down so you can understand it very simply, like I did with Luke, I'll start at the bottom, because if you think about this, 60% of the audience, they're unaware. They don't know they have a problem. So they're not actually thinking about making a change. They're not conscious that they need to do anything. So when they see content targeted to help people, I don't need help, go straight over the head. They don't even notice it. But content about yourself, this is why personal branding is really important, because it does appeal to everyone and people can resonate. If you're getting married, will that post get more likes than a specific bit of content talking about, I don't know, foods to eat when you're trying to lower your A1C or your diabetes? when you go specific, it's specific and it's going to get less engagement, but it's going to appeal more to the people with the problems who are then aware. So the vast majority of the audience, they're not aware they got a problem. Only 20% of people are aware they got a problem. And what this actually, the difference between these two, it could be them coming back from holiday and seeing a photo of themselves from the side and go, do you know what? Wow, I have got a lot of back fat, or I look like a sock full of cake mix. That's unflattering. Shit, need to change that. So that can happen independently, or this can happen where, you know, they could see a bit of your content about your lifestyle, and then you could be documenting your journey, and they notice that you made quite a accelerated volume of progress in a short space of time. And then you could label something here. You could reference that, you know, you changed what you did. You changed one key action. You stopped training 5 days a week because that was a nightmare. Bro splits, terrible. That was the key thing that led to the change. Then you can make people problem aware by labeling the behaviors of your target market. And again, this comes down to understanding psychology. And by the way, talking about psychology, everything I'm covering in here, I go into a lot more detail in my community. There's a free trial on the link below. You can access it straight away. I teach coaches how to improve the understanding of not just the clients they help, but their own ServiceNow positions. So they can communicate their service in such a way it's a perfect fit and it looks like something people desperately want. And then when they understand the psychology of who they help, they can influence people in their following more readily with their content and in conversations, so you get more people coming to you. And then the third module, which goes into a lot more detail, is understanding fully how to help people to a higher degree, how to coach them properly, how to use psychology to change habits. And then this way you're going to get better adherence, better results, and then those results will attract more indirect inquiries, but also more likely to lead to better referral potential with better relationships. So you can access it now if you want to know more about this, or if you have more time for more in-depth content, it's all available there. But then you move up to the 70% of activity researching. And the difference between 20% problem aware, 17% activity researching is pain. Pain and repetition. You know, if they keep seeing people get results in less time than they're spending, and if they feel like they're being overtaken, that creates pain of comparison. And then they can start to make more urgency, more willingness to change. And then once they realize that you as a coach are the person that they like because you understand exactly what they want, or your content, you're staying consistent on what they want over and over again, and that repetition is keeping the temperature hot, and you're gonna boil the kettle at that point if the temperature's maintained at that heat level, whatever. So, yeah, you're just turning it up and you're keeping it consistent, and then that is going to drive people up, and then it's just a question of, do they like you? For example, a difference between the person who's researching is they're just picking the solution. Is it ketogenic? Is it the ketogenic diet? Is it fasting? Is it this coach? And again, how well they move up this is the precision and accuracy of what you cover and what topics you talk about in the content, and how well you understand them, which is point 5. Point 5 massively streamlines this and accelerates people up this. But the point being is you need to split your content into a range of different angles to not just cater towards the 3%, but to cover the most. Because if you're giving out, helping you, showing off your personal brand, and you're giving off like free resources, you're going to attract people who aren't ready right now, but in due course, when you build trust, you demonstrate help, you're going to get more people who are in the 20%, the 17%. You need to have a strategy which stacks and hits different levels to get a higher percentage of people off the following. This is what, otherwise you're just constantly searching for new followers. And that's why a lot of people, a lot of coaches are obsessed with growing their following. And I just need new people to see me. I just need new people to see me. It's because they don't have the skill to get a higher percentage of the following, and they're only focusing on people who have the need right now. Not a great strategy for compounding growth and growing your business revenue, because you have to be able to do this. Otherwise, you're constantly having to get followers for the sake of getting followers, and then that's where you start to miss out the details of, okay, are these followers, do they have the problems that you help? And then all of a sudden you have a diluted audience, which is not great because it limits your exposure and reach going forwards. And then the third thing we need to think about, need to pay attention to, is how well or how convincing your argument is within the content strategy. And the analogy with this is water. And this probably illustrates my point, because I see so many coaches talk about the fact that you need to hydrate. Oh, you need to hydrate because it's really important. Why? Why is it important? If you tell me that the amount of effort I'm putting in to not only sticking to my diet, not only getting my steps in, not only putting my cardio in, and all the sacrifices I'm making, and then you then tell me that if I'm not hydrated, 60% of the effort is wasted because fat can't translocate across the membrane if you're not adequately hydrated. If your body doesn't have enough water, you can't pull fat out the cell, and all the effort you're doing before that, you're just halving it, pointlessly, needlessly. Giving reasons and arguments and adding relevant cost and risk to the problems is important, because it hits home the urgency to do something about it. But a lot of coaches skim over. You need to get deep into giving them a reason why they need to consider making a change, or at least introducing a consequence to their current actions. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And again, when you understand the psychology of who you help to a higher degree, you will know what the fears are and what the pains are and what consequences to reference to drive the most action, or to drive and instigate the most change. Because human beings are terrible at making decisions and terrible at introducing new things. We like the status quo, we want to remain. However, it's up to you to influence and get people to proactively engage with you. Otherwise, you're doomed to continue having to start conversation after conversation. And there's nothing wrong with that. You need to nurture your audience. But if you're good enough with it to do this in content and influence one to many within that reel, within that carousel post, or the culmination of your content, then you're going to get people more, or you're going to get more people coming to you and filling up that inquiry form, or asking or wanting advice. The content is going to do the heavy lifting for you, which is a much more enjoyable way to live life, in my opinion, because let's face facts, no one wants to live on socials or spend thousands a month on a setup. So adding consequence and giving reasons and meaning to some of the information is really, really important. And then another key point is how you niche down, because this is a converting factor on the top of your bio. It was the same with Luke. Most people niche down on demographic. I'm looking for Mohawk lesbians in Hull. Where are you? Where are my lesbians? You guys need to diet differently. You need to diet in a different way. It's just, you think that that's going to make you stand out, but it's not. You need to niche down on situational problems and the questions, and you've got to think about the person that you help. What are they going through? And I suppose this goes directly into number 5, which you might as well cover now. What are the thoughts, behaviors, and emotions? By the way, I was trying to think about behaviors. I realized this is an arm, right? But it looks like an aggressive chicken. It looks like, it looks like a roided chicken ready for action. But it's an arm. Anyway, so yeah, we're optimizing for biceps on this program. But thoughts, behaviors, and emotions. If you understand those 3 elements of the person at the beginning of the process, or your ideal client at the beginning of the process, you're much more likely to create content which is going to drive urgency and attract not just followers, but drive people to inquire, because it's a different threshold of action required. To get someone to pay you money requires a lot more influence than just getting someone to follow you. You need to have this skill, and a lot of the skill is the precision of how you talk about things and understanding the key details of what is important to that person. And this is why people struggle with niche. They overcomplicate it, whereas all you need to do is you need to think about one key client, and you think about that person. What's the ideal journey? If you had 2 years with someone, where would they start and where would they end? And once you know that, and you can think about the client who's gone through that ideal journey, it's like, cool, right at day 1, what were they going through? Can you fill this out in detail? Can you answer that question? And once you have that, and your service and your whole existence for being online and you're building your business is to solve the problems around that first point of contact, that's what the content should be designed to, because you're attracting people at that beginning, and it's the precision. Once you deliver content to that degree with a solid level of intent behind it to help solve this problem, you not just attract this person, but you attract other people around that area. So you can work with different age groups, demographics, but the thing that is consistent between the inquiries is they're coming to you with the same problem or wanting to solve the same issue. And this is important because this makes you known for something, and it lets the algorithm understand you more, so in time it pushes your content, as long as you're consistent enough, not covering different topics or excessive topics, but staying consistent on the core problems. The core problems that you're really good at solving, it's just sticking to that, and that's the niche. It's not just the person, it's the problem, the situation around that, your own version of the solution, and who you are as a person, how you deliver it. All that goes into niche, and if you really dig into that and spend time on it, you're impossible to replicate. You are so unique in your approach, but it's just having that clarity, and it is sharpening a blade to cut down a tree quicker. You know, you can either spend 4.5 hours with a blunt axe trying to chop down a tree and fail, or you spend 3 hours or 2 hours sharpening the axe and cut it down in 20 minutes. It is the fundamental work that so many people ignore, yet it is behind massive results where you 10x an income in just under 10 weeks, and you build an account from 1,200 to 50,000, and for the rest of that client's life, they don't have to worry about leads ever again, because they've got such a warm audience now that I've really seen that the only people who've come through so far are the people in the immediate. Because the ones that have come straight through into service off the back of the following growing, they have the immediate need. But we've got all this, we've got so much more in that audience now to leverage and to tap into. And again, it came from the depth and understanding the psychology of the problem and niching down correctly. Obviously, the delivery of the content we've covered, and then the actual strategy, but the fundamentals aren't fun. They're not jazzy, but they're incredibly important. And then lastly, when we tie this all together, this is actually what a content strategy looks like, because if you break it down like this, it's referencing a set of core problems that you're really good at solving, drawing it down into one key solution, which is, again, can help you stand out, be known for something, have an approach, be that guy, be that gal, but referencing the problems, showing off elements of the service and showing clearly how you solve that or how you do it with clients, providing an invite, a call to action, an opportunity to take the next step, and that's where inquiries are generated. It's having a system in place and having a proper strategy around driving urgency and understanding influence. And like I said earlier, I help coaches improve their understanding of psychology, their own psychology, but the psychology of the clients that they help. Because once you do understand that and you do have a deeper level of knowledge in this area, your content is going to hit harder. The messaging is going to stand out. You will stand out. You will look like more of an authority figure. And people will want to work with you purely from the fact that you repeat their reality back to them in more detail than they understand themselves. That is what drives inquiries. That is what influences people to come through to you rather than you having to chase them. It's being able to read them and explain it and read it back to them. And you can't do that if you're just focusing on surface level details or niching down the wrong way. That's it for this video. If you want to understand more and build upon this, click the link below, access the free trial, and start improving your understanding and psychology of the people you help. Once you do know that, your content is going to improve, and it's going to directly influence people to take action and inquire into your service.